dial the box in to whatever works for you, and it came up all throughout, for example, the aircraft carriers, the Eisenhower and Ronald Reagan. Now, they can distribute the images all throughout the ship, which greatly enhanced their ability to provide medical care.
Is this formally structured as a layered architecture? I mean, XML layer, is that defined as an open architecture, or is this your proprietary thing, or what?
Our box, all of the communications, like for the web interface, there's a proprietary viewer that we designed that runs inside of a web browser. However, the compression protocols we use, the transmission protocols we use, are all based on open standards.
So, but is your architecture the sequence of layers of which your XML associative layer, is that a separate layer in your architecture?
Yes, yes. Well, if you take our box apart, really what it amounts to is another vendor could manage to replicate a good portion of what we do, except it would be spread out among about 12 boxes. Siemens did about 40% of what we do in their pack system. It took 11 separate computers. In our box is a single box running Linux, running Postgres SQL as the backend database, and then all these replication tools and firewalls and VPNs and compression protocols. It's all built in. You know, in the HL7 router engine, the Dichrome router engine. So it's when you try, and the other thing is from a cost perspective, to try and replicate this is enormously costly because there's so much technology packed into this box. It's all working. The secret weapon of our product, which I'm sure you would appreciate having deployed CHCS all over the world, is that all of these boxes, there's an automated, encrypted upgrade protocol built into all of them that uses the same ports. So when we have, for example, a security threat, or we decide we're going to update the CPP4 codes or the ICD-9 codes, or add a new application layer to the box, what happens is that you initiate the upgrade from the box, from a web browser attached to the box. You click a button and it reaches out from inside its protected enclave through the firewalls to hit the upgrade server, which at this point sits at resubmitted. And so we don't have to build, like, as I refer to it, Swiss cheese through the firewalls. You know, the biggest joke going is to put up all these firewalls and then violate all of them with medical vendors building VPNs through the middle of them. So our stuff takes the opposite approach. The only time that we can gain access to, for example, a MedWeb server on a ship is if the guy in the ship calls and says, hey, I've got a problem, I need this updated. We can tell him to hit a button, and when he hits that button, it'll open up the gateway and upgrade the box automatically. So right now, we've got MedWeb in 300 some odd facilities throughout the DoD. When there's a security threat, you know, like the P thing a while back, and you know, they threaten to pull a box off the net. If you don't correct it within 24 hours. Well, there is no other medical vendor out there that can respond to that. For us, all we do is we post the upgrade to the upgrade server, and it's referred to as the Global Telerad Support Network, which monitors all of the MedWebs everywhere in the DoD continuously. And then those servers, when the guy at the local DUM hits the button on the web page, it just upgrades itself, and now the security threat has been closed.
Well, I've been listening to these architecture issues for 30 years now, so I've seen them come and go. And I guess what strikes me is most necessarily is an open systems approach to this. And everybody's got this thing. If everybody did it my way, you know, the world would be a better place. And obviously, that doesn't scale too far.
Well, so, actually, scalability is probably one of the biggest problems.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a whole bunch of activity in the open systems world that I think needs to be pulled together. And I think that an open protocol-based model, so like your XML associative layer, which, by the way, what you said about it, I think is very critical and it's a good idea. And I'm so good I'm already thinking about it. So great minds run in circles. But you're so smart to think like me, I guess.
No, I'm not that smart. I just got smart people.
Okay. But anyway, this layer here, but to make that a MedWeb proprietary layer on MedWeb hardware, and you know, you're cutting out the potential for the serving as glue, and the glue is what's missing.
Well, this is
hospital information system.
This is actually the part that has really appealed to the Army, for example.
Yeah.
The Army has lots and lots of people that want to stand up, you know, a tele-ophthalmology system or a tele-dentistry system or a tele-this or a tele-that. And none of them meet the security protocols. None of them really were designed for such a large enterprise with such crappy and diverse and constantly changing networks. But the MedWeb box itself is a Linux box running Postgres and Apache with a bunch of firewalls in it.
Yeah, and what you just said about security, you don't need, you know, there should be a layer in there that's an integral part of the protocol stack that everybody can sit on top of.
Let me just explain. So our box effectively is a vanilla server sitting in all these places that already has all the firewall ports open. The biggest hardest part of this thing is the initial configuration to get it live on the net coming from a particular site. And so what we have now is a network of boxes that are sitting out there already installed. If I wanted to deploy a new application, let's say you wanted to deploy CHCS into 300 sites in the world, and you didn't want to physically go to any of them, I can actually deploy your build of CHCS on top of Linux and Apache or Postgres if you want to use those tools, or you can just have your own tools that we load up on those boxes. And off you go. If it's a web application, which obviously would be the recommended approach, and you literally can build your application on top of the boxes we've already installed. And you don't even have to physically go there to do it.
Well, I think, you know, if you look at the success of the open source world, and I'm harping on the VA to go open source also, is the ability to collaborate and form these associations around layers. And we today the world is broken up in all these stovepipe applications, and people say, well, everybody do it my way, and everybody do it my way, and you got 14 people doing it their way.
And as you probably, after 30 years of this, you know, the politics, especially in the DoD, are you know, up to your neck.
But also, all you need is somebody with a little bit of vision, with a little bit of clout, who can fund something and turn this whole thing upside down. And that's really what I'm looking for. Somebody with a vision for a collaborative, protocol-based model for hospital information systems. Get rid of these stovepipes, stroke of the pen for the right person at the assistant secretary level.
Yeah, CHCS could easily be implemented as a web-based. In fact, I think you guys have done it, haven't you, as a web-based application?
It's one of my projects.
Yeah, so when 2000 came around, I met with one of your collaborators, and I don't remember his name now, but he had a Windows NT-based version of the Vista solution. I don't know, maybe you know this guy from... But he had...
John, can we cut the video now?
Sure.
Okay, found the new hardware. All good.
Oh, found a scan. I think it's
Update search for software. Say no? I think it's already there. It's already there. Okay. Alright, so if I wanted to start her as a new study for medical, okay, and we're going to be coming up with some smoother ways to do it for non-medical. Okay, so I just say new patient, okay, it pops up, it automatically gives me a unique ID, and it gives me a date so I can put birthday. Okay, so, you know, I can just look at her, I can tell right away their birthday is probably July 4th, what, 1920 maybe? No, her. I'm talking about her. You're like 50. Alright, so 84. 84. Yeah, 15.
You could have the adult.
Okay, and then your last name, I believe, was Smith? Right? Serrano. Okay, so
Serrano Smith.
Okay, and what's your real name is? First name? Patty. With a Y or not? Okay, and you have sex offerings, you know, marital status. Married. Patient category. Don't have one, so don't worry about that. All right, and then we can put in a social security number. We're not going to put real ones, but some other stuff in here. Then we would ask you facility, branch, rank, grade, civilian occupation, religion, race. is? 91941. If you want to map to it shows up. Okay, and we won't bother with the street because I don't want to confuse that. Alright, so now I can put study description. I don't know, we'll say small, abdomen, operator, frame position, and we won't bother with the phone. Okay, at this point, if we had a wristband printer here, I can actually print a wristband that goes on you. The wristband printer back in the and it would print a label, so you can say just print label and that would be it. I can also import information if I didn't feel like filling all that in by hand. If I had your insurance card or driver's license, there's a little printer, a scanner, feed that through.
The magnetic stripe?
It'll read the mag stripe or it has OCR. It'll read either way. And then it would just do that. Now we're going to just go to images. And we're going to select the source. And in this case, it's going to be our USB video. We're going to say acquire. Bummer. Guarantees closed. This time. I started I know what it is. I have to quit out of the browser. I plugged the camera in after the browser.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So then Microsoft Internet Explorer doesn't know about it. Virtual PC. Let's go back and start. Hey, Steve. Steve! No, that's not Steve. That's just a guy hanging on his blanket. You can turn that off.
What's that? Oh, good. Yeah, but do you see him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Walking, right?
That's right there. Uh-huh. And I'm shooting through, what would you say that is, 10 inches of Adobe?
Probably. Is it just one-sided?
Or brick, or whatever it is. There he is, right there.
See if I can
Comes up real strong, see him?
look over your shoulder here.
Okay, well, I'll send to see him. Whoops, dropped it. There you go, wait a minute.
A little hard to see in the sun.
Yeah, I understand.
Anyway.
Okay, go on, wait a second. There he is, see the little X?
Yeah.
And there he is moving around, and he's a little large there.
Do we like the front of the thing?
Well, we'll just have Steve come
Now,
back
what-
out and verify where he was at,
And what
and that'll
this
be proof.
what this does simply is prove to you that there's somebody in the building right off the bat. So if your first requirement is the building occupied or not occupied, you've just determined that it's occupied. Then, depending on what you need to do, if you need to determine, if you want to know how many people are in there, it'll count up to the 4 largest targets, which obviously then tells you there are at least 4 people, or 3 or 2 or whatever. If there are more than that, it begins to blur itself a little bit. But then again, the key is that you know the room's occupied or the building's occupied. So if it's a disaster situation, you know to go into the building, or you're not going to waste your time to kick it in.
Okay. So Steve, was that you that we saw on the other side of this?
Right over there, and I stood still for 1 minute, and then I went up a little bit
And
up the stairways.
and you saw him, right?
Yeah.
And what would you say this wall is? Oh, this is a really thick wall. So I'm probably shooting through 10 inches, would you say, combination?
Yep.
In this case, I'm shooting through about 10 inches of
Plus
brick or
brick, and there's a metal stairwell there and metal pipes through, and I was on the other side of the metal stairwell and metal pipes.
Steve, were you the only one present in
I
that
was
section?
the only one in that section.
and that's all we saw was one person,
Yep.
right?
Can you verify that too?
I can verify.
Just one person?
There's one plus and one person.
Oh, great. That sounds like it's really works, Jim.
All right.
Very good.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
welcome.
All right. No, it's my pleasure.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right.
And
Live video feeds going on here.
Fast, close, and instant.
Forefront of these.
problems here, such as hurricanes and disasters here or overseas, make them more effective too, get them home safely. So most of our equipment involves homeland security and defense. Things like body armor, lightweight body armor, trying to get lighter equipment. So I'll turn it over to Mark Wilson to give you a general overview of what we have here in this tab.
Like the Colonel said, my name is Mark Wilson. I'm a retired Marine First Sergeant, a retired police officer. I'm a logistician, and that's what I did in the Marine Corps, was logistics. Our task during Strong Angel was to come onto a dry site, no power, no lights, no water, and logistically support a response team that would be after a disaster. And we did the same exact thing in Katrina. We brought with us chow, water, lights, electricity, generators, satellite communications, satellite internet, and security control for this operation. The tent that you're standing in was born from Katrina. SpaceX has been around for a long time, but when I was there, I was trying to put up an old canvas GP tent on an asphalt parking lot, and those stakes don't go in very well. This is a giant easy up. We've seen easy ups. It was born from an easy up because the company decided, you know, if that easy up is just a canopy, why can't we put sides on it and make it into a tent? And from that evolved many different styles of tents. This tent goes up on any terrain in 20 minutes with 8 guys. And it's got electricity, it's got a dual lighter for insulation, it's got an air conditioning, and it's got a secure floor, and it can also be made biosafe. This smaller tent is usually used as a command center. It's connected to this tent by Velcro. So these are 2 separate tents connected by Velcro. And out by the street you'll see that we also brought with us a shower facility. It's normally designed as a decontamination tent, and that's why we brought it to show how to do a decontamination in the field, biohazard or avian flu mop-up or stuff like that. But we realized that they didn't have showers here, so we converted it into a shower facility. It's got 4 showers, gang sink with 2 hot and cold running water sinks, and we've got a 500-gallon water bladder laying on the ground out there that's filled with distilled water, so it can be drinkable water also. You can drink the water right out of the shower. We've actually pumped hot water from that facility to the Red Cross kitchen facilities, so they would have hot water for their steam tables. In this tent, we brought together a lot of technologies that all interact together. Interoperable radio communication system, portable cellular sites, security systems to secure the internet, surveillance systems, lightweight wireless video surveillance systems that can be transmitted anywhere in the world, and search and rescue type equipment. I'm going to really quickly let John Morrison talk to you about a very quick overview of what all the systems that are in here, and then turn you loose and let you go where you like the best. If there's any questions about what we do or why we do it, then I'm definitely available for questions.
When you say you bring food and so forth, are you talking about to support your own group or to go beyond?
Well, the original intent is to support a 50-man security force for 30 days. And during Katrina, that's exactly what we were there for, to support a 50-man security force to secure all state insurance investigators going out and telling people they didn't have flood insurance. And also, the Chevron Graveyard building had to be evacuated. That's a control center for the entire East Coast for Chevron Oil. They estimated that it cost them $400,000 a day for every day they couldn't be in there, all of the oil companies. And they had millions of dollars worth of equipment that was left unguarded when they evacuated. So our job was to logistically support a guard force to secure that building. That's what we started out to do. When we got there, we realized that there were all these Yahoos running around downtown with submachine guns. And the head of Homeland Security for the state of Louisiana is a retired Marine colonel, speaks the same language, and we said, somebody's got to control this mess. It's Dodge City out here. And he said, I think you just volunteered. So we became the private security coordinator, making sure that we knew who to keep and who to send out of town. when Rita hit Texas, we went directly from New Orleans to the the Office of Emergency Management outside of Beaumont. And just so happens that the governor's representative is a former Marine gunnery sergeant, so we spoke the same language, fulfilled the same task there. The difference in Texas was they had a set of regulations that required only people that live in the state of Texas to work in the state of Texas. So it was designed to make her job easier, my job easier, but I said, you better walk outside this tent and look around because you've just been invaded by the United States of America. And every security company that has a license from any state is here already. And she said, that's okay, we'll just put them all in jail. So we said, here's what we'll do for you. We will put your people back to work. And we established on the spot the Gulf State Security Alliance. We got the phone book out, started calling security companies and saying, if you would like to be in the Gulf State Security Alliance, when we get a contract in, we will send it to you. And FEMA was saying, I'm getting all these calls for security, and guys, I do water and chow, I don't do security. So they would just transfer it over to us, we would call out, and now we have companies in Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, New Orleans, and Florida. Because Wilma hit me right after that. Sorry, you're going to run out of time. I want to get you. But that's what we do. To answer your question, that was the concise answer. Good.
One of the things, John Morris, we support the homeland.
He's good.
I don't have it very often. We can literally, the first day set up, everybody was down. I had this, a lot of people said, we're always helping bring that. We could discuss it. There's a lot of problems. Any enemies would have accreditation. At the same time, we can take care of that. Maybe that would be an angle. Like you say, hey, there's probably a certain way to work out the agreement. I just talked to that attorney about it. Once this is communication, security, basically, you don't have demonstration. You set up, it's like a trust and control, trust and control, so we do. Immediately, I can get into ourselves. It's how we want to have those folks out there. The other thing is there's so many different areas that you can get for these out of the somebody has the first one. So you set all that up, you sit here and back and forth, then you've got the process. There's three things that we brought in here. The first one is we have a situation needs so you can if somebody's taking information from you, so we think it's easier. Go into that, and then we give you a full friction stairwell. Wake up, you never go anywhere. So they want to this is important technology. See through the wall it's ultra-wide technology. It's designed to see live people, not dead people. What it does is ultra-wide band cannot penetrate salt water. Human body is 70% salt water, so it sees reflection
off of the salt water. It penetrates through about 14 inches of concrete, adobe, brick, concrete with rebar, any other thing other than solid. It was used in Katrina. DOD took the systems that they own from down to Katrina. It was used to go on and determine whether there was anybody alive in houses and buildings. You're not throwing it down into the water, you were throwing it up like this, and it has a vertical mode, so you can see 20 feet vertically at the same time. So you can see into attics and most houses, or you can just point it up. It sees about 30 feet through the 14 inches of concrete. It was used in the disaster thing to find where the building project was also used to monitor what they consider to be high value parties for bad people. So it was used to check pharmacies, drugstores, and believe it or not, they caught a number of people in buildings that had been evacuated, etc. Had no one in, they'd go by, look, and they'd make arrests based on that because there were people. Yeah, that's exactly it. Now, one of the questions that was asked of me, the same radar does treat in a different form. The Air Force asked us to build for them a live dead triage ambulance for search and rescue where they could fly the helicopter over, look at a pilot that was down or a crew member that was down, shine it on an individual and determine whether the individual was alive or dead. Because not that they would rescue it, but it would determine the priority that they had.
The risk of touching down on the hudson.
That's exactly it. They got $15 million for it. We got $2 million, and we ended up, and they terminated the program when we were $750,000 away from finishing and delivering. But the system worked. We went to the Fairfax County Search and Rescue, and we showed them the Braxport system that we have, and we could see 30 feet through rubble. Same system. And monitor heartbeat, which is what they asked us to do. Take the same system that Anzo would do exactly the same thing. And what Fairfax County Rescue told us, because they're the #1 rescue department in the world, was that when they would go through earthquake areas in South Country, you might be 4 feet under the rubble. Your heartbeat might be 120. You're unconscious. You, sir, might be 18 feet under the rubble. Your heartbeat might be 42, but you're moaning. They hear you, they dig to you, and they go right by you, and never even know you were there. And as a result, what they end up with is they lost both people because they said 30 feet as the floor, because anybody below 30 feet, their experience was you couldn't get to the side. That was about this size. So could you yes, this has already been, this one has already been done by the Inquiry Center on the tallying robots. We just did a test at the Engineering Center where they would slowly drive down the road and look inside buildings. No, there wasn't people in buildings that are supposed to be there. That's exactly it. And it came to that. You just have to write a statement. This system I have in my hand doesn't have a stabilization algorithm. Well, they wanted 5 miles an hour. All right, it'd be a normal search as you're going down the street. No, you just hold, it would be mounted, let's say, on the side of the vehicle.
On the outside?
Yes, on the outside. That's exactly it. No, it's on the outside. But even in an armored vehicle, if you have a window, we see right through that. If you have gaskets around, UWB signals penetrate through rubber, etc. It's just solid metal. No, we got salt water. And which is why it sees you, because it doesn't. When I'm holding it up here, and it's the white blobs that you see are salt water blobs. It's the rate, and then the rest of it is just. Well, we're white salt water blobs. Okay. And by the way, the power. This is 50 microwatts of power. That's 100 times less than your cell phone. So it's we have the capability to build it down to where it would be on our forearm, but nobody's ever asked us to do that.
We'll be able to do that. We'll have some of that ability. But the version that's
Yes, there you go. Just turned it off. It's on a standard military lithium battery. Right here, it's rechargeable. Give it 3 hours. And it comes with a charger, etc. It could use a better power management system, but you know, that's exactly. We're a small company. It could run off of that for that. This is sold in the military version of GSA schedule for $9,000. That is on streaming.
The average household income was, and hopefully their connection to the internet will be sufficient today. And what you'll see yesterday, what you saw were dots on the map, which are really cool because you can see them from the field. But what I wanted to see today was information behind the dot on the map. If I clicked on the dot on the map, what I wanted to see is that household was below the poverty level, or that was a Hispanic household, or that was a Cambodian household. Insert whatever attribute your fancy is that you're looking for. I'm just going to go on here. We had improved usability. They did lots of enhancements to the data sets. The spirit of cooperation was still there. We did impact the system to the point with our field feeds back here, not synergizing the way that we would like to. That's something the vendors are going to take back from here and try to figure out how to make sure when a remote feed comes back in, it comes back in the format and the language that's being intended.
Trying to integrate in. So what you're looking at right now is web data, geospatially or georectifying all of the image. If you want to zoom in a little bit, these are people that are actually sick coming down with this garden variety of flu based on the web data. So you can see the location. Secondly, we've gone ahead and started to track in real time with our friends over at General Atomics hospital status. Turn that on. You can zoom in. These icons begin to turn colors, and the data behind the icon also is displayed here, provided by General Atomics, and then right into Google Earth directly. And as we see things start to come up and issues start to happen, we'll start to see more hospitals potentially fall, or this one will come back up. What we want to do is be able to show a capability status of each hospital that you can keep track of. And there's other things that we've taken care of, but to keep it brief, we've also tried to stay a little bit ahead of the curve. We've talked about this being a garden variety that perhaps turned into something else. We want to show something that perhaps we want to think about, and that is the homeless we talked about. We saw a live feed coming from an area where the homeless would be taken care of. A large group down near Father Joe's area, in this area right up here. What we've done is we've gone ahead and built in some 3D models. That's Petco Stadium, which perhaps could be a triage center, an initial staging point. And also, as we zoom in down on the harbor, we've actually taken advantage of his Hexayurt capability and perhaps stand up a triage center for folks, complete with medical facilities, communications, solar power, you name it. If you'll zoom out a little bit, potentially what we can see is to be horticultural, taking care of this in a cultural sense. So we're building these irrigated villages in a circular pattern with some privacy in the middle. And some great work by our friend doing the next year.
I like your village.
So that's my briefing. There'll be more tomorrow. It's better each day.
Do me a small favor and give me that the next year's on.
What was the question?
There we are. That's what it is. Yeah? There we go.
What's the difference between the buildings and
I think they're concepts. Interesting idea. Question?
Just to get everybody back on track for the scenario, we have gone from
pandemic response to more of an information and education. The importance of those things have not changed. Keep in mind what you're trying to avoid is public panic, riots in the streets. It's why we did the press conference first thing and didn't go immediately into more operations. So as you go into tonight and as you work tomorrow, unfortunately I will not be here, I apologize, but keep in mind, how can you deliver this information out in a way that's consumable by the public, not just by operations? So if one of the priorities is to educate, and in fact the main priorities is to educate the community, that means whatever data or analysis you're providing needs to be in a consumable format that we can give out to people if we deem it appropriate.
In fact, that's on the list of things I wanted to ask about. What do we know about messages going out to the public? What did we talk with our social networking and social understanding, civil understanding folks?
All of our public information is coordinated through the entire public information structure that we have. And in part that's Jamie, and in part it's a plethora of other information officers. All the information is provided to them, they in turn massage it and put it back out to their social contacts with appropriate locations.
So we understand how the information flow in the city works?
Our capabilities are mostly theoretical and not necessarily practical in that we can translate, but we can translate Russian and Italian, not necessarily Cambodian, and that's just a matter of the language package, licensing things. If this was an emergency response, we could do those kinds of things. We have been, over the last 4 days, not knowing that this was going to turn into a big communications thing, has been establishing those social networks. So we have a good foundation for that with the limited resources we've had for people to do that. So now we would look to all of you to help us figure out the strategy tomorrow that we're going after and figure out how your stuff can leverage that stuff.
Fair enough. You have David Thornbosch and Claire that have already looked carefully at how the city is organized and what you might need to do to get messages out effectively, including across all the public communications pathways. We have media here, and we have a fairly good understanding of how media works, what is happening ordinarily, and you'll have to have a failure mode that says when some cell towers that have been vulnerable, their batteries haven't been changed in a while, when you have some breakdown in cell towers or you have some breakdown in FM transmitters or AM transmitters, what are your alternative modes for getting information out? For example, hand printing sheets, handing them out on street corners, where would that be most effective? You have some idea of where it would be most effective based on that map that was done, on where your likely outbreak will continue to spread. That's where you need to put resources. You need to figure out which resources are besides medical, because the most effective resources are not medical. They're social. So more on that I would bet to follow. A couple of things. First of all, very nice job. That's some remarkable stuff. You mentioned that you had seen this stuff before. I'm not sure you meant all of this stuff. I think you meant that particular map we were looking at. Is that right? Hospital degradation. Right. Good. Good. The things that we are doing here. Well, actually, before I get to that, we're going to get back to that. I'd like to take a moment to talk about standards and have somebody from the object management group, which may or may not mean anything to some people in this group, chat for a bit. Richard Soley, Object Management Group.
I know how much you all adore talking about standards and testing how standards are so many to choose from. So I'm not going to take a lot of time to talk about it, except to say all the things we've been hearing about for the last half hour are about capturing what we learned this week and making sure we don't have to learn it again. A lot of making sure you don't learn things again is capturing it when you don't have to learn it. We have the technology to do that. We've been developing that technology all week. It would be a pity if we had to do the same sort of map integration all over again every time there's an exercise, and worse, every time there is a real disaster. So I've spoken to looks like about half of you about standards and how we create standards so that our vendors here, maybe their margins will go down, but the market's going to get larger if you've got a consistent product that lots of people can consume. And for you who are effectively end users, NGOs, first responders, and so forth, it is worth your time to share the lessons that you've learned this week, the lessons that you've learned in your career, so that the vendors are building things that you can consume right off the shelf, rather than having to do the kind of integration that we've been doing all week. So, if I haven't spoken to you, I'm fairly easy to find. I think I'm the tallest person here, and in both dimensions. And I'm wearing a nice bright red shirt, so I'll be here the rest of the day. And if I haven't already framed you, please give me a chance to do so. There is an international standards organization that actually focuses on sharing information in multiple formats and lots of different vertical markets in healthcare, finance, manufacturing, and knowledge management, which is what we're talking about today. That's the object management group. That's the group that I lead, and that's why I'm here. I won't waste any more of your time talking about standards, but please come and talk to me if you haven't already. Thank you, Eric.
My pleasure. Thank you. By the way, it's a real pleasure to have you here. Thanks for coming by. I know it's a long trip. Talking about tomorrow and sorties, why don't you take the opportunity now?
Thanks, Dr. Eric. We'll be discussing this at 9 a.m., but we have a very exciting interactive sortie going out where